Hello YouTube, Liverpool fan in Japan and Miyazaki Mansai. So yes, the game against Luton, not what we wanted, not what we expected as well. A lot of players underperformed, Darwin Núñez missed chances, but also Mo Salah missed a lot of chances, and just overall the squad was under par. McAllister, Szoboszlai definitely didn't take up the mantle, didn't lift us to the highest of heights, but then again, you can't always play well. Sometimes you just can't hit a barn door with a banjo. It is what it is. Every striker will tell you, sometimes you have the off days. Unfortunately, it was one of our off days and no player could step up to the mark. And additionally, all of our title chasing rivals, well, most of them dropped points. Man City the only one who did the business, but Arsenal dropped points as well. Tottenham dropped points as well, and Manchester United should have dropped points as well, but hey ho, let's get on with the show. Let's look forward to the January transfer window, where it could be make or break for majority of the clubs. They might get that influx of talent who will boost them to those vital 3 points to get them well in the lead for the title race. Now, there's a lot of discussion around Andre Trindade from Fluminense. I did a video previously around how he's not a Klopp number 6. He could be a Klopp number 8 or a hybrid midfielder, multifaceted kind of midfielder that suits the position that Klopp is looking for. We've talked enough about Andre. A lot of people are interested in Andre, and we can talk about him a little bit later in this video as well. But I want to bring your attention to Ezekiel Fernandez. I think he's like 21 now. Boca Juniors, opposite Andre in Fluminense versus Boca Juniors in the Copa Libertadores. He has been handpicked by McAllister previously. He kind of recommended him at the time for Brighton to scout him and possibly sign him. He compared himself to Ezekiel Fernandez and said, "This is a player of many good attributes. I can see him making an impact. Hopefully the Europe door will open for him sooner than later because he has all the attributes to succeed." Now, he compared himself, Alexis McAllister, Alexis Majestic, to Ezekiel Fernandez. However, from what I've seen, he looks a little bit more like Enzo Fernandez. The way he manipulates the ball, shuffle, turn, he's got a little bit more pace around him. He likes to go forward a bit more. He's not just a tempo maestro dictating the play and moving the ball around like McAllister. He can break the lines as well. He's very left-footed. He actually uses both foot, but predominantly left-footed. He looks like a very interesting prospect, 21 years old, something we should look for. But then again, the age, and coming from Boca Juniors, Argentinian league, I don't think he can slot in straight away. And work permit issues, who knows, maybe the price tag over 10 million, Home Office will bypass that and let him in as well. Very hot prospect, very talented, handpicked by McAllister, but he would not be the Argentinian defensive midfield player that I'd probably be looking for at this time. One player that I really fancy is Varela at Porto. He's already made the step into Europe. He's got experience in a European league. Portuguese league is not so bad, right? Porto, Benfica, Sporting Lisbon, a lot of talent has come out of there, but he looks a little bit more developed, a little bit more mature than Ezekiel Fernandez. And I'd also kind of rate him in his ability to go into the back line as well. So he's very well versed into dropping into the back line, forming a free, allowing the fullbacks to push forward. How we used to do it with the 4-3-3 with Robbo and Trent, obviously Tsimikas at the moment, in place of Robertson. Obviously Tsimikas is actually quite good at left wing back. It highlights a lot of his natural attributes, ability to whip the ball and ability to get into those half spaces to connect with Lucho Diaz or whoever's on the left hand side. Varela's tough tackling. He's actually very much kind of in the mould of Fernando Gago as well. Disrupting the play, distributing the ball, but he's also got a bit of Ever Banega. You remember Ever Banega at Valencia? So very well adapted, taking the ball, distributing the ball, multifaceted, can play the ball forward, can dribble a man, get into the kind of forward position as well, but predominantly he covers the half space in between our centre-back line and our midfield line. So I think Varela would be a very useful signing. I think he's 22, something like that. Played over in Europe, in Porto. He's got exposure to some of the better players, let's say, in the European leagues. I would rate Varela as a signing, and he'd be a smart signing who would complement our midfield as well. Endo being towards the latter part of his career, having that experienced, cool head, but Varela is a little bit more mobile and a little bit, I'd say, more technical in those kind of forward areas. Endo is actually quite composed in forward areas as well, but predominantly for Liverpool, his role would be to break up play, to shield the defence, to marshal that defensive line, the offside line as well, and he'd be calling shots in terms of acting as that pivot. The ball and the play will revolve around because he will be leading the press from the defensive line, telling the centre backs or Trent to slot alongside him to act as that double pivot. Intelligent shadow. Endo made a video on that as well. Varela is someone I would really take, but obviously it's up to Liverpool at the end of the day, right? And he is of that younger profile, but then again, I think he'd probably command a starting place sooner than Andre Trindade or Ezekiel Fernandez, just due to the fact that he's exposed to European league in a similar kind of style, and he can slot in centre back as well, which is always helpful. Now, if you're looking for players who can go straight into the starting lineup and make an impact, I think there's a few criteria you need to be aware of here. Klopp will only take someone, defensive midfielder, destroyer, anchorman, with Premier League experience, composure, leadership, technical ability to break the lines. He doesn't want just a destroyer, just legs, not a Momo Sissoko. That's not a Klopp player. He wants someone who can do the defensive side of that defensive midfield role act as the anchor in terms of holding the positional play, act as the pivot in terms of the ball going to him. But the most important part of Fabinho's role was as the lighthouse, making sure that the midfielders are in those half space slots, the diagonal slots, so he can pass the ball through the lines, okay? So, two players that come to mind. One, I've mentioned already, is João Palhinha at Fulham. There's a reason Bayern Munich want him to act as the lighthouse. Similarly, he could make an impact straight away in Liverpool because he's got a technical prowess, he's got a Premier League experience, he is a high caliber player, makes a high number of tackles, his passing is semi-decent, and he's not afraid to go forward to join in the offensive transition as well. So João Palhinha, I think, would be super effective and super expensive. You're probably talking at least 65 million, 70 million. Could he be worthwhile? If we're there and thereabouts, he could make the crucial play. He's like I'd say a slightly less good version of Declan Rice. Declan Rice is probably more athletic, he's on the up, his trajectory is going very up as well, joining Arsenal, huge club. But João Palhinha is not too much worse than Declan Rice. He's probably a better defensive breaker, but Declan Rice is probably better box to box, which seems to be more of his transitional role at the moment, because he can have Partey holding the lines, or even Zinchenko and Partey pivoting into the middle, holding the lines to let Declan Rice go forward. He is a bit of a dynamo, very good player, Declan Rice. The other one, apart from João Palhinha, Premier League experience, versatile, composed, leadership with passing quality and free kick taking quality as well. Over in the Saudi leagues, obviously linked back to Newcastle on loan, Ruben Neves. Now, Ruben Neves has been an option for many clubs, whether it's Barcelona, Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Manchester United. A lot of clubs have looked at Ruben Neves, but no one really pulled the trigger on him. I wonder why. He's not the most pacey, but he's very composed. He was the wonder kid, right? In the Portuguese league, at the age that he was at, Pep Linders and everyone else were absolutely raving about him because they have such composure at 17, 18 and 19 and leading the club, leading the team, leading the line and positional play as well, dictating the play, Alonso-esque, right? Distributing the ball, but also joining the offensive transitions and making sure that, you know, he gets the second balls, anything that spills out to him, take a pot shot from range, even free kicks, corners directly into him to take a shot even on the volley. He is a technical marvel, has defensive responsibility, is Premier League proven, and he would also be expensive. And to dig him out of the Saudi clubs would be very, very hard because Newcastle would look at it and go, we're loaning him, breaking all kind of ethics and play, but probably Newcastle bound if he were to leave that league. But he would be one that I think Klopp would trust in the sixth role almost immediately, and he could make an impact, but you're probably talking north of 60 million to get him out of there. So how realistic? I don't know. We've still got a pot considering our failed Caicedo bid, but okay, we've got the two experienced head there. Who else could Liverpool potentially get as a number 6 or transitional defensive midfield anchor pivot, someone who can make an impact? Well, Liverpool only splashed the cash for generational talent. Now, these two aren't predominantly defensive midfielders. However, they have a role to play in midfield, and even, I would argue, we lack a dedicated number 10, someone who can transition from the number 8 into number 10 or second striker, or pivot against Cody Gakpo when he drops deep as well, or can break the lines with that final lung-busting run a la Gerrard and Lampard back in the day. Jamal Musiala, realistic? Very much not so, because Bayern Munich would be fools to let him go. I think he's just contract wriggling and trying to get the highest package he can get, but he is a wonder kid of wonder kids. He is a technical marvel. He should be playing for England really, but he probably fancied his prospects of German because he's got a bit of everything around him. He is, dare I say it, a better version of Mario Götze. Now, Götze had his health conditions which contributed to his downfall, and he was a wonder kid and he really, really helped Germany. But I think Jamal Musiala, from a younger age, is a brighter prospect because he's got a higher ceiling due to his athletic ability and mentality. I've heard he trains very hard. I heard he's very, very disciplined and he wants to win. He demands perfection and he demands winning, a winning mentality. That is very much aligned with what Liverpool want. And at the age profile, Liverpool would splash the cash for him, I would hope. Coming towards the end of his contract, I think he's just using it as a bargaining tool to get the best contract he can at Bayern. You could probably see him at Man City, even Real Madrid. Real Madrid have got that stacked midfield anyway. Do they need him? Probably not. Barcelona, he wouldn't look out of place. Could even go to Atletico Madrid, but I think Liverpool should be in for him. Generational talent, but it's unlikely. Costs too much, and Liverpool in Europa League this year. And yeah, Liverpool splashing the cash that much for a youngster. Yet to be seen. We didn't go for Bellingham. I think Bellingham just chose Real Madrid over in the end as opposed to waiting out Liverpool's bid, or he could have wanted to use Liverpool as a stepping stone to Real Madrid. But overall, unhappy about Szoboszlai and McAllister in place, and Gravenberch and Endo in place of one Bellingham, let's say. That leaves us with Andre Trindade. So we all talked about Andre, know about Andre, won the Copa Libertadores with Fluminense, high caliber player. He can do a bit of everything in midfield, technical marvel. He keeps the ball simple, keeps the ball moving. He's got a bit of fight in him. He tracks down, he closes. He's athletic, but not super athletic. He likes to hold the lines and hold it deep and receive the ball off the back line. Is he technical and proficient enough to receive it off of Van Dijk and off of Trent, offer more than Trent and Van Dijk could ping it? I don't know, to be honest. I don't know if his passing range is as good as Van Dijk or Trent. So what does he do? Could he be the transitional player, transitional ball player that breaks the lines with passing a la Thiago? But he's not as good as Thiago, and Thiago's coming back in January. Now, I know people want to sell Thiago in January or get rid of him or say waste of space or waste of money, but he's not better than Thiago. There's not many players in world football better than Thiago at his specific role. If you saw Thiago in a left-sided 8 role for Liverpool all season, this season, I would wager we'd be in much better position because he has ability, he has defensive responsibility, he has a good mentality, he has a winning mentality, he has leadership quality, he can get himself out of trouble, he's got the biggest passing range in the squad, and he's just a phenomenal player who can shoot from the edge of the area as well, finesse the ball, caress the ball, do whatever you want. He's got every skill in the book, and in training he's probably the best as well. Him and Diaz, but Thiago's better. In training probably. So yeah, whilst Thiago is massively underrated and underappreciated, and I understand the arguments about how much he's costing us, but I'm not a financial accountant. I could have been. I'm half qualified accountant, ACCA. I digress. Andre would be a useful signing and be a very good signing for the future and possible Thiago replacement, but he's not a dedicated 6 and he wouldn't be trusted there from the off from Klopp, coming in from Fluminense, Brazilian league, with no exposure to European football, and the pressure and the press from high caliber players. It'd be very difficult to see him starting, but in the left-sided 8 or even the right-sided 8, he would make a lot of appearances and could contribute to the season, especially in the Cups and the Europa League. So, who does that leave in terms of midfield signings? We've talked about João Paulinho, we've talked about Ruben Neves, we've talked about Ezekiel Fernandez, we talked about Alan Varela, Jamal Musiala, and Andre Trindade. Only other player that I think potentially could make an impact in the 6th role is Wataru Endo. No, of course he can make an impact. He will be trusted. Trust me, he will get more appearances as the season goes on. Klopp will trust him. He'll unleash him when he's tactically aware and ready. Klopp knows best. He sees him training. Anyway, no, Martin Zubimendi. And the reason why I think Martin Zubimendi could really fit the Liverpool profile is we haven't been linked to him as much as other clubs. And it's possibly more obvious that he might move to Barcelona, right? Because he very much plays like Sergio Busquets. And the quote was, if you watch the game, you don't see Sergio Busquets. But if you watch Sergio Busquets, you see the whole game. And Martin Zubimendi is a similar type of player. Alonso at Leverkusen, right? He's also saying that Zubimendi plays very much like himself. He's always aware of positional play, the players, where they're going to go, and the trigger points before he receives the ball to know what to do with the ball when he receives it. Okay, hopefully that makes sense. So, what does that say? It means that he's a very mature player, a thinking man's player, a coach on the pitch. And this is why McAllister is playing the 6 at the moment, because McAllister is Klopp's thinking man's player. He's the coach, the general, the leader on the pitch, making the play, pulling people into position, and only releasing the ball when people are in the right position for the positional play that Klopp tries to implement in terms of strategic setup for a particular game. This is predominantly why McAllister plays in that 6, in my opinion. It's because he understands the philosophy and the win conditions, the positional win conditions to release the ball into the right area, either to break the line into Szoboszlai, to break the line into Gravenberch or Curtis Jones. Probably more Gravenberch because he's more progressive, Curtis Jones for safe pass and safe zonal play. But he is the tempo controller and the strategist on the pitch in place of Klopp, and he can relay that by releasing the ball in appropriate areas. So that is why he plays, regardless of possible athleticism and defensive deficiencies. It's a team effort to defend McAllister in that role when he plays a 6, and we haven't been that unsuccessful. We're only like 3 points on the top, right? But Zubimendi has a passing range. He can tackle. His positional play is excellent. His vision is excellent. He is the next generation of Spanish midfielder who can play alongside Gavi and Pedri and Bajcetic. And then you have those players in and around like Ricky Puig as well. But I really think Zubimendi is going to achieve quite good things. It's just a case of, can we pull him out? We did pull out Xabi Alonso back in the day when he's heavily linked to Real Madrid and that kind of classy operator. So I wouldn't be surprised if Liverpool were highly interested in him. It's just a case of, is it the right timing that Barcelona can't afford him due to the finances? I don't think Madrid will need him, having got Camavinga and Tchouaméni and Valverde. So there is an opportunity there, but I have a slight scary suspicion that Man City and Arsenal will be heavily after Zubimendi if he is available as well. But there are options, and the most likely looks like Andre Trindade, and I think he will be a good long-term signing for Liverpool. I just wonder if we really are after 6, and as the fan base are clamouring and crying out for dedicated 6, and they really want a destroyer. I don't know if Andre Trindade is that. If you want a destroyer, I'd go with Alan Varela. If you want a multifaceted player, I'd probably go with Zubimendi. Andre is good for the long term in the kind of multifaceted rotational 8 position. But then again, it's up to Klopp and the team. They've got all the scouting data. They've sent the scouts worldwide. They know what they want in terms of philosophy and achieving their tactical objective. So hopefully that's been insightful. If you agree with my transfer decisions, let me know in the comments below. If there's any other player that rings a bell, that really floats your boat, let me know as well. I'm very interested to know your tactical insight as well, what you think Liverpool should do. Liverpool fan in Japan, make sure you hit a like on this video, get this video seen as well. Thank you so much for over 400 subscribers. They're nearly halfway to getting the live streams in place. Until next time, guys, Janet, Matane, Miyazaki-man, Ichiban.